Are you all going jolly out there? Welcome to the Making Life Brighter show, and I'm your host, Winifred Adams, and today we have return Grammy winner, Mr. Chuck Ebert, super duper producer and amazing songwriter, hit songwriter at that. He is now the founder, or one of the founders of Buffalo Chip Whiskey, which we talked about last time. Sip the Chip, in case you didn't know, and it's coming to someplace near you, and you can request it as well. Sip the Chip, there you go. And he's brought along two amazing guests, which are part of his recent collaborations and work that he's done on his record label, and that's Axon Entertainment. And you can welcome today our special guests, Grant Malloy-Smith and James West. Welcome, gentlemen. Thank you for being here today with us. Woo!
Aloha.
Yeah, we are so excited to be here. Thank you.
Are you over in Hawaii, actually, James?
No, I'm actually in Los Angeles. I used to live on Maui. But I'm mostly here in LA these days, although, eventually I'll be going back for good.
Great. Well, welcome. It's so nice to have you both here. Now, Chuck, I want you to set the stage because you're on fire. Last time we talked, everything was blooming, and now it's like taking off, it's skyrocketing, and we're up real soon here for these Grammy contenders. And both of these people are part of Grammy contending albums. So, Chuck, take it away.
Oh, wow. Well, thanks, Winnie. Thanks for having me on the show. My massive thanks for these two guys here. Grant Malloy-Smith, I love you, man. Jim, you know my heart's with you, brother. I love you both so much. These guys are outstanding artists in their own right, and I got to collaborate with them on Rooted in Song, an American music experience. It's up for Americana album, Grammy contending album this year. Phenomenal record. And I'm going to start with Grant because Grant and I are the ones that kind of came up with the concept and the idea. Right. A little while back, Grant, about a year ago, Grant and I were talking. I said, I got this idea for an album and a project, Americana album and a project to take, and I want to tour it and do that. Yeah. He's like, well, I'm game. I said, well, I'm going down to Fredericksburg, Texas in a few weeks. Why don't you come down and hang out with me, my friend Curtis, and Jeff Claiborne, who's actually on this album too. And I said, come on down, man. Let's paddle out and let's talk about how to do this and make it into a reality. And so we started talking about the songs, how to do different things, and for the live production. And then it really I got to think about, okay, I'm going to make an album. I'm going to make an album to make this thing really, really cook and be something fantastic. And the artwork on this record was conceived by that guy right there, Grant Malloy-Smith.
Oh, Grant, your ears are burning because we talked about you the last time I talked to Chuck.
Oh, you did?
We were talking, nice to have you. We were talking about your amazing artwork and your artistry for that matter. So let's talk a little bit about what it is you brought to the table for this project.
Well, me? Well, yes. I contributed a song. Chuck put out the word. He said, I'm looking for American roots songs. And I gave him 300 songs and he picked one. Actually, I kind of wrote it special.
He did.
I wrote it specially for this record when he rejected the other 299. And I'm only kidding a little bit. But it's a song called Lower Alabama, which is a kind of a tongue-in-cheek name for the Florida Panhandle where I'm from originally. And, because it's that strip that's right below Alabama, and it's pretty much Alabama. It's not really Florida, even though technically it is. So it's just a feel-good song about living in that part of the world where you've got the ocean, the Gulf of Mexico on one side, and the Alabama border just a few miles to the north. And,
is that a place
days.
That's country music prevalent, or is country music?
Very much so, yeah. It's southern. The rest of Florida is not in the South, even though it's even farther south, which is ironic. But it's not culturally the South so much. It gradually becomes, Florida, I call it like a parfait. At the top, you have the cultural South. And in the middle, you sort of have Disneyland and the Space Center, which is not really culturally part of the South. A little bit, but then you get to the really southern part of Florida, and it's very influenced by, the people from Cuba and so on. It's very Spanish,
right.
With that great music they play. That tropical music is wonderful.
Kind of a cross between Cuban, Latin America, bossa nova, sort of all mixed into one.
And there's a lot of Haitian people too. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of cultural mix there. It's amazing. But I'm from the top part, the kind of the hillbilly part, if you will, a little bit.
And so you contributed. And Chuck, what did you think when you heard that?
Well, he wasn't lying about sending me like 4,000 songs. I mean, he sent me a bunch of material, and I went through a lot of it. And because, you know, Grant and I have known each other for a while, and I knew it was going to be something quality when he sent it to me. And I kept listening, and then all of a sudden I came across Lower Alabama that he sent me. I said, Grant, man, Lower Alabama is the bomb, dude. I said, I'm loving this. And so we went through a couple arrangement changes and different production avenues and takes and everything on it until we turned it into what it is now. And Florabama, the line in there about Florabama, drunken Florabama. I'm like, oh, dude, that is so cool, because the Florabama line, you know, it's a big thing down in the South is across the Florabama line. And Grant's from Milton, Florida, which is so ironic because I got family that live in Milton. I'm going to see him in a couple of weeks. It's pretty amazing.
Again, synchronicities. They just follow you.
Yeah, it is.
They follow you. So in contributing to that, what is it that you have ended up with? You have an Americana, a Roots album. Let's talk about that, Chuck. Let's give everybody the lowdown on exactly what's up for nomination and voting right now.
Okay. So we've got an Americana album, which is rooted in song, an American music experience. Awesome, awesome record which these guys are a part of. And then we also have, I have an album that is a comedy record, the #1 comedy album in America today. I can't believe it. I'm still up there #1, man. Chad Prather. I know, I got to trifecta this year, man. Chad Prather's song record, Y'all Shut Up. It is so fun. It's hilarious. It is really, really funny. So it's got just a hint of stand-up and then a lot of these great songs. And the songs are funny as can be. You're just going to have bumping cousins. Talk about Alabama, Florida. We got bumping cousins on this record. No, we ain't bumping cousins. It is so funny. So, yeah, it's great. And then we've got, the songs are Motel 6. It is a hoot. So and then I have a third album that is by far, and it's one of the guys that's on the Rooted in Song record. His name is Janky. Scott Lindsay is his real name, but Janky is his artist name. Janky Boy is the most upcoming blues guy in America today. He is blowing it up because of the Grammys and started talking about that. And going out, all of a sudden, somebody got a hold of him. He is exploding. The blues magazines, I'm getting calls and reviews. Who is this Janky guy? Oh my gosh, this record is off the charts. I'm just watching it explode, and it's played on a cigar box guitar, and a real suitcase drum set the guy's beating on with his feet. He sits on it backwards and beats on it, and then has this hat thing going, and then he's got Cody Cotton playing harp. It is ripping cool, man. And I'll tell you, the guy that can tell you about all kinds of cool guitar and changing keys and stuff is the guy down on the screen down there. That is Jim Kimo West, who played an amazing song on Rooted in Song for the album Americana Rooted in Song. Jim, you got to tell him about what you did.
James, yeah, let's hear from where were you brought up? Where were you born? Where did you begin?
Well, it's funny. I was actually born in Toronto, Canada, but my family moved to Florida when I was quite young, and so I grew up in Florida, like Grant. And when I got to a certain age, I thought, I got to go to a big city, and to get ahead in music. And I thought, well, at that time, it was like either New York or LA, and I thought, well, I don't want to go to New York; it's too cold up there. I'm used to the sun, So I came to Los Angeles, and then. Not that much longer, I discovered Hawaii, and I, spent a lot of time in Hawaii, but I'm back in LA now because of the music business. And, I've done a lot of music for film and TV, and you kind of have to be here for that. And, but, Hawaii is home for me, really.
What island do you like?
Maui, a little town called Hana, Maui. That's on the east side of the island. It's like it's just horses and chickens and, one gas station and, a couple tiny little stores.
Love it.
It's rural living, very rural,
What a great
But anyway,
place to be inspired.
Chuck, told me about this project a while back, and he said, hey, have you got anything that might fit? And of course, I've got a lot of Hawaiian slack key music. I've got, 10 or 12 albums of that. And Hawaii, it is sort of an Americana thing. It is, it's part of America. It's a folk music tradition. The Hawaiian slack key is what I play. But I was trying to think of something that I hadn't released that would sort of fit on an Americana record. And I had this one. I sent him a few things, but I had this one track. It was only a minute long. It was called Chicken Music, and it was something that I never put on a record for some reason, but I ended up having it. I think it was, sort of a licensing pool, and it got used on a YouTube video where somebody had shot a video of their English bulldog like rolling down the hill or something, and they put this music behind it, and it went, it got millions of views, and I started getting checks for chicken music, even though it wasn't even on a record. So he loved that one, but I thought, well, first of all, it's too short, and also it's been out there. So I thought, well, I'll create a new version of it, longer, and I'll put a bridge, and I'll rearrange it, and it's the same instrumentation. It's just a guitar and a dobro, but like I said, I basically just sort of rearranged it, and I thought, well, I can't call it chicken music, so I came up, thought about some different names, and I came up with the idea of calling it Hapa Huli Chicken, and that's sort of, in Hawaii, that would be sort of a joke, because in Hawaii, the tourist music is called Hapa Haole, meaning like half Caucasian, half tourist, music. But they also have a thing you see on the roadside a lot called huli huli chicken. It's a rotisserie. Huli means to turn. So huli huli chicken is something you pick up on the side of the road. They got the rotisserie out there, and this guy's selling off the back of his pickup truck. So I thought Hapa Huli Chicken might be kind of a fun name. So that's what it's called.
Love it. I love it. That's fantastic. What a great inspiration for this entire story. Now, Chuck, when you heard that, how did you incorporate that?
All right. Well, first thing I thought about was, let's eat some chicken. I want some chicken after that, because Jim was telling me earlier when we were talking about the song. He said, "Well, man, there's a name for it, but it's like a rotisserie chicken." And called I forgot what we're going to call it, Jim. Something, it was rotisserie chicken thing.
Yeah, huli chicken. Yeah,
huli chicken. That's what it was. And he said, then we'll talk happy. What we call it, the happy huli chicken now. And oh my gosh, man! All I want to do ever since I've heard that song is go to a chicken stand in Hawaii.
In Hawaii, exactly. Oh, that's fantastic. Well, gentlemen, you're all part of what's coming, and it's coming quickly. And your contributions are up for vote, and this is part of the Grammy Super Time, where everybody's out there and your peers are voting for you. What makes this album stand out?
Well, I'll start with that. I know Chuck can say more about this, but I think
it's Grant, tell him.
I think it's the fact that American roots music is not just one thing. Like country music is very well defined, and pop music is well defined, and jazz is well defined. But American roots music is sort of, I call it the island of misfit toys. No one really knows exactly what it is. It can be any combination of country and folk and bluegrass and singer-songwriter and you name it. Everybody does it a little bit differently. There is no one exact definition for it. And I think the challenge and also the success of the record is that Chuck pulled together an amazing assortment of a variety that really expresses the whole width and the breadth of what Americana or American roots music can and should be. Because, like Jim said a minute ago, you got Hawaii, that's America, but that's pretty far away from where I came up from. And then if you go even farther east than me, you go out to the Caribbean and you get that kind of, music from the islands and that and so on. And then everything in between on the continent here. And boy, Chuck did you did a great job, Chuck, bringing together a whole record that puts kind of a little bit of everything that represents the real American music experience.
Fantastic.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that. That's awesome.
Yeah, and Jim, what do you have to say about that? How do you feel about?
Well, I feel the same way. Just like Grant said, I mean, Chuck has pulled together an amazing variety of music that is really held together by this same concept. And I was honored that he, asked me, because I originally didn't think that, my kind of Hawaiian slack key would really fit in, but he was right. It does fit in. It's all part of American roots,
Yeah.
Well, you guys have Axon Entertainment has actually pulled an ad and put a full page ad in the Billboard, right, Chuck?
Yes.
On
Yeah.
this,
We teamed up with the Indie Collaborative, who all of us are part of, And Grant actually spearheaded the Indie Collaborative for a lot of independent artists, because we're not a major label. Accent Entertainment, we own the Cabin Record Company, and the Cabin Record Company is the label that put this out. And our promotion team, Accent Entertainment, the parent company, does all the back end work. You know, you got to have somebody doing all the work, because the label is no more than just really a sticker on an album. It's all the back end that does all the work. And Grant and I were talking, and I said, dude, this record's so good. If we all get together, why don't we put an ad in Billboard? And we did a full page in Billboard.
Right on.
And I'm going to go get it in a minute. And I'm going to show it to you.
It looks so
I got
good.
it sitting right over there. Man, I'm gonna get it. You talk, I'm gonna get
it. That's wonderful. It is. It's beautiful. It looks amazing. And you should all be proud, because this is one of those things where, especially when you grow up loving music and you spend your time creating music, whether it's for yourself or other people, this is your moment upcoming. And this could be very well your moment upcoming. So if you
I'm sorry, I mean, interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
But like Chuck said at the beginning, we were going to make this into a show, a real show. But then the COVID-19 happened, and we're not going to be doing a show, not this year, that's for sure, and probably not till sometime next year. But we will do an appearance, that's for sure. But we couldn't do a big show like we wanted to, so the record is the next best thing, and maybe it's better. Who knows? We'll do both eventually.
We hope.
Well, I was gonna go get it, but they've already taken like 2 copies up to the office. I'm like, well, they didn't even leave me a copy in the studio. So I said, you guys bring it down, and I'll get it from one of them. Will bring it down in a minute. But hey, talking about live shows, we are going to do something with Rooted in Song next year, and we're doing this at the El Portal Theater, Grammy Week, January 29th. We're doing it live. We're going to have Chad Prather there, Janky, all these records up for Grammy contention this year, and most everybody from the record's going to be there from Rooted in Song. Jim's going to play, Grant's playing. Grant and I are going to co-host it and hang out. Of course, it's going to be fun. We laugh so much. We'll have a blast doing it. But it's going to be awesome to have that live aspect right there, and you're going to get to hear and see all of America, from this record represented right there with Rooted in Song. It's going to be a great show. It's at the El Portal Theater. Grant, you can tell them the location where all that is.
Yeah, it's in North Hollywood. It's on Lancashire Boulevard. It used to be the Debbie Reynolds Theater back when she was pretty big in Hollywood back then. She had her own theater, and this is it. It's a great stage. The venue holds about 360 people. I'm sure we'll fill it all. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Super. That sounds like so much fun. So can people get tickets now, or how are you going to do that with the whole COVID situation?
Yeah.
Well, not yet. We're about to go get all that online and do that. We're securing the place, doing all the back end stuff, and then we're going to do a big announcement when it is. And right now, getting through Grammy week, this is a huge week for all of us. So all of our ears are bleeding from listening to so much music. And look at that, baby, she's got it.
Grammy shirt on for you guys today.
Winnie and I have been there a few times together and enjoyed life. It's been
all right.
We've had lots of fun. We had lots and lots of fun. So
it is
where
fun.
can people find out information about this event, and where can they get the album?
You can go online to to our place. The album is physically downloadable everywhere. It's all over the place. So you can go to Axon, AXON entertainment.com, and you'll be able to find out about Rooted in Song. Click there. There's more coming, because we don't even have an official page for the record. It came together so fast, and we did all this, of course, and we're about to launch all of that. So you'll get to see all the back end. We're going to press CDs. You'll get all that too as well. But right now, it is streaming everywhere, coast to coast, all digital platforms. And it's going like gangbusters. I am absolutely so impressed. And with everybody, the response we're getting just from the Grammy voting committee has been overwhelming. It has in my world. I think all of us have been receiving that.
Yeah.
In the Americana category.
Yeah.
Best Americana album.
Thank you.
Best Americana album, yes.
All right. It is the Best Americana album. Now, I have to just give a little shout out to Jim here, because he was a guitarist for Weird Al. Is that correct?
Yeah, I still am. I still work with Al. Yeah.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about Al.
He's a very, very sweet guy. He's a great guy to work for. We met way back in the 80s, and he was looking for a guitar player, and I didn't really know who he was. I thought, well, it's some guy plays accordion, and but he had just gotten a record deal, and soon after that, he just kept getting bigger and bigger, and it's been a long ride, but it's been so much fun. We've had made so many records and so many tours, and the last record, it's been a few years now, but it was an actual Billboard pop chart #1, Mandatory Fun, which was pretty amazing, and the last tour we did last year was with a full orchestra every night. We had a full orchestra for every show.
Wow.
On the tour. So it's been an amazing career, and it also gives me time to do my thing too, because he doesn't always tour every year. Obviously not this year, but maybe
nice.
next fall we might do another tour.
Well, you can't help but have it lighthearted with that going on.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever know what you were getting into when you started that?
Well, I don't think any of us thought, it was obviously novelty music, and even Al, he got a record deal, but none of us ever thought it would go more than a few years, But the thing is, what's interesting is he's always commenting on pop culture, which is always changing. So he's always sort of reinventing himself, and you see that at the shows, because the shows have a demographic anywhere from 6 to 80 years. There's no other show that has that wide range, because when he puts a record out, all of a sudden he's appealing to the new generation of music listeners,
Right.
And the kids, you have kids that become fans when they're 8 years old, and then you have people in the audience who became fans when they were 8 years old 25 years ago. So it's a very wide demographic, and it's crazy that his career has lasted so long.
Well, even though it's novelty music, it's really well done. He's got great artists like Jimmy on there. He's got the best of the best. The songs are produced. They sound, if not as good as the original, they sound better than the original sometimes, to be honest.
Well, I think
it's a high bar.
Yeah, the records sound great, and I think on a lot of the songs, his parodies, that his lyrics are actually way better than the original, because he puts a lot of work into those lyrics. They're very well crafted. And sometimes, the pop song can have a very kind of blasé, repetitive lyric, but he'll come up with something that's really great,
Man, I was in Denver with Winnie just a few weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, I guess it was now, and she had never heard Aluminum Foil. Which is the parody
Foil,
from
Mandatory Fun.
Lord, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That's pretty insightful.
And, oh my gosh,
I have to say.
Died.
Yeah, it's hilarious, but it's very
great.
It's clever and it's insightful, and you can't help but have good work energy with that kind of levity all the time going on, because sometimes being in the studio, as y'all know, can be a little tedious. And I'm sure with that, it's not tedious.
I've seen some crazy things in the studio with Al. We there was one record where he wanted us to do group background vocals, right? But he wanted them to be very high pitched, so he brought in a tank of helium. And we all did our vocals on helium.
I love it. Oh my God.
Only Al.
Yeah, now there you have it. That's
mad genius.
That's great. Well,
very much.
So, Grant.
Yes.
When you began music, what was your aspiration then?
Wow, I had two. I wanted to be, even though I was only 4 years old, I wanted to be in the Beatles. That was my #1 aspiration.
Wonderful.
They didn't take little blonde-haired 5-year-olds from Florida, or 4-year-olds, whatever I was. But I kept after it. But they broke up before I was in high school. So, oh well, I didn't make that one. But at the same time, my grandmother from Kentucky was playing me all of her, what she called mountain music. And so when I got a little bit older, I realized I went through the rock and roll phase, like Chuck did, jumping around like a maniac with long hair and spandex pants on, that kind of crazy stuff. But then I got too old to do that, when I was like 60.
It's hard to imagine at this moment that I'm going there. I'm going there. So, no, seriously, that's wonderful. It's like you've taken a little bit of bluegrass, which sits underneath all that, and
that's what
moved
turned
it
into
pop rock and kind of a thread of country.
Yeah, well, now I just do American roots, or sometimes it's country songs. I go back and forth. I don't stay in the lane too easily, but that's the nature of American roots anyway. You're a little bit, it looks like you're driving drunk when you're in American Roots. Sometimes you're on over the center line, other times you're one wheel is off in the gutter. That's okay.
I love it. I love it. So I have a serious question for you. Are the lyrics more important than the actual music, or is the music first?
I think ultimately the lyrics might be more important, but you can't separate them. Otherwise, you don't have a song. The song is the combination of the two things, of the melody and the way it's played, the orchestration, the harmonization, the rhythms, etc., and the lyrics. You can't have one. It's like saying, what do you like better, the face of the coin or the tail of the coin? If you take one away, you don't have a coin anymore. I don't know what you have. But
Yeah, well
it
said.
can't be. I think that if you put the two together right, it becomes greater than the sum of the two parts.
And so, what's your favorite song on this album?
Beside my own song?
Yep.
There's a song. Well, I love Jimmy's song. I like almost every single. I do like every song. Some just in different degrees. There's a song by Jill and Julia that I really like. I thought it was really super good. I wish I'd written it. I can't remember it right now, but when I heard that, I was like, wow, that's a great song.
Awesome.
Yeah,
I took that Jill and Julia song and the basic. I had the rough. They gave me the rough from it, and then we doctored up, did some things to it, added the banjo, and changed some things around a little bit, and then turned it into what it is. So that's really nice you said that, man, because I love the banjo playing in that on that track. It's really, really cool. Something different, you know. And I like their voices. They're such nice voices, wonderful voices.
So where do you see music going, Grant?
Wow. You mean the business of music or music itself? The business or all of the above?
I think all of it. Where is music headed?
Well, I hope it's headed back to being able to play live in front of people again, because I really missed that. You know, I did a bunch of shows in California, Central Valley back in March. Every venue I went to, it was their last show until further notice. I closed down one venue after another. I must be a really bad songwriter. Everywhere I went, they closed the place after I played. And then that was like 7 months ago, almost 7 months ago. And I haven't been able to do that since, except one little songwriter circle I did here about a week ago. And boy, I really miss it. We need to get back to playing music live. And, you know,
we need people together again, because that's the heart and soul of
right.
our world, isn't it? Doesn't matter what language we're in. That's really the heart and soul. And it's interesting. I spent a lot of time in Central Valley, and I worked for Kiss Country FM.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. And I actually got to open for a bunch of people that you know well by name, and
That's cool.
they traveled through on that tour and down through there, and Buck Owens and back around. And you know, there's something very special about that valley, and there's something very warm. I know the venues you're talking about, and I feel that. I get it. I understand.
I went to Buck Owens' studio in Bakersfield. Yeah. It's owned by Korn now.
I know, and he came to speak at one of my my composer breakfasts that I was part of, and wow, that guy's a trip. He's a trip in person, but he loves that. I mean, it was his like thing and his dream, and he's got that, and he's turned it into this great studio. I got quite an education that day.
His dad was in Buck Owens' band, the Buckaroos, his keyboard player. It's just a great place. I played in Fresno, and I played in Tehachapi up in the hills, and I love that part of California. It's unlike the rest of the state.
It is.
It bears no resemblance to L.A. or San Francisco or those places everyone thinks of. It's like what I like.
It's down
people that
home.
dress like me and talk like me a little bit, and they're like regular people.
Yep, they're hardworking people there. It's a real special place, and it's funny that the fella from Korn does own that, and he actually said that day, just a little bit of trivia, that he was so mad that his dad would make him pay for studio time that he bought it. He still has a thing about it. He's like, I'm so mad that it's just mine.
Hey, you can afford it.
So I'm like, okay, whatever it takes, dude. So
you're just giving the allowance back that you got earlier in your life.
Essentially, right? So
with interest.
Exactly. Well, my heart and soul is there. I understand that. I really relate to that, and I know the people up there live and breathe on this kind of music. They really do. And the whole Central Valley, all the way to the coast, there is a strong following for you all there. And so I hope as soon as it opens up again, y'all can go back up there and really play your heart out for people. So, Jim,
we're going to tour it.
You're going to tour it?
We are going to tour this record. Grant and I have been talking about getting this. We're going to get an East Coast tour going. We're going to get all the way across Mid-America, and then we're going to do the West Coast. We are going to tour a Rooted in Song, an American music experience. There is no doubt. As soon as things open up, we're going to do this because the players and all the different folks that can come in and play from all aspects, like Jim's going to come and play on it when he's not touring with Al. We're going to play a couple things there, and then Jim won't be maybe on this next one. But the Grant's there. Grant can't be there for that one because he's doing something. But we have so many people that are so amazing on this, and there is a volume 2 coming out next year. You're the first to hear that, but I've already started working on volume 2, baby.
Right on. All right. So, Jim, where do you see the future of music? You're in LA. You're in the
well, you know, like Grant was saying, since we've all been at home so long, and we're, you know, our music experience is listening to, you know, music on Spotify and YouTube and such. I think that live music will become even more special. You know, I think it's already more special because, you know, people have been doing live concerts on Zoom and things like that, internet platforms. I think live music is and records that are recorded live, you know, the old way. I think that is going to become more valuable and more. I think that will be a bigger thing as opposed to.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, there'll always be lots of production type music, but I think live music and live sounding records, organic records. I think that will become a bigger thing.
So,
I got to tell you, Winnie, speaking of that in a live record, Jim has a record that's also up for Grammy contention. It was recorded in the Jim Henson studio. It is done live. It's never been, it hasn't been done like this in 50, 60 years or more since I've heard a record like this. You've got to tell them, Jim, about this album because it is outstanding.
Yeah, it's called Aloha Radio Hawaii. It's not my project, but I was, you know, a big part of it. I was approached by a friend of mine, Dave Way. He's an engineer. He's won a few Grammys. I know Dave because he's engineered the last few Weird Al records, mixed them. And so Dave told me about this project about a year ago. There's a record label in China who do a lot of eclectic international records called Rhythmoi Music. Really interesting stuff they put out. They wanted to do a Hawaiian project, and they tapped, you know, Dave to put it together. And he called me immediately and said, you know, how are we going to do this? And I said, well, originally, you know, let's try and do it in Hawaii because, you know, a lot of the great, especially some of the older musicians are there. This is a tribute more or less to the 20s, 30s, 40s music of Hawaii that they call the golden age, stuff that people don't play anymore. So it turned out that there just wasn't a studio in Hawaii that could accommodate this recording because he was going to do it in what they call Dolby Atmos surround sound.
Yeah.
And he needed a lot of microphones and, you know, there just wasn't a studio that existed there. So we switched the location to Hollywood, the Jim Henson studio, which was A&M Records on the A&M Records lot. So I brought in my friend Ken Emerson, who Chuck knows, who's you know, he's the absolute master at the old Hawaiian style lap steel playing, you know, the acoustic Saul PE style. So we got to have Ken involved, and he ended up being really the featured soloist on that record. And then Dave brought in a few other players. Dean Parks, a legendary studio musician who's played on thousands of records, you know, Steely Dan, and I mean, everything. Dean was there, and Dean also plays some steel guitar as well and some ukulele. So we all sort of switched off, played different things. We had somebody playing some vibes, Dave Jackson on upright bass. We had a number of great players. Anyway, we all sat around in the circle, and they put the mics up. We had no headphones. We'd run over a tune a couple of times, make sure we had it right. Then we'd roll a few takes and go on to the next one. And we did the whole record in 2 days. And it's recorded, like I said, in this surround sound. I haven't actually heard the surround sound mix because I don't have that kind of system here, but but the CD sounds fantastic, and it's called Aloha Radio Hawaii, and it's a tribute to that golden age, 20s, 30s, 40s of Hawaiian music.
Oh, amazing. They should be featuring that at Duke's and and everywhere else. That's amazing. Oh, that's wonderful. That's nice to hear, really, you know. I'm glad people are going back and doing that kind of thing, and I'm glad you can be part of that and bring that forward, especially with your heart and soul there. It's necessary to kind of touch backwards, I think, to go forward sometimes, and everybody likes to go back and hear what was and hear it well done. So congratulations. And what category is that in?
That will be in the, what they call the regional roots category. That's usually where Hawaiian projects go, along with Cajun and I forget what other categories, you know, Cajun, Zydeco, maybe polka, I don't know.
I'm not sure.
They throw it all together in regional roots.
Great. Well, we'll look for it there. Regional Roots and Americana. And Chuck also has Best Comedy Album with Chad Prather. And that's fantastic. Now, we have a few minutes more, and I just want to kind of touch on what it is that you, you got the billboard. Okay, Chuck, speak so we can see your video, and you can hold that up.
There it is.
You have to say something so it pops up on your video. Chuck?
Yeah, Rooted in Song. It's actually featured in Billboard magazine. Of course, on the covers there's Lady Gaga. This is the largest edition that's printed Billboard magazine through the year. The next one is, of course, the Grammy one. And there's all of our folks here and you can check that out in Billboard magazine. Rooted in Song, Best Americana Album for your consideration.
Fantastic, gentlemen. That is so inspiring. It's so exciting. I'm happy for you in all categories, and it's nice to know that you're continuing your passions despite this COVID and despite the things that are happening. Can I just say, and I'm going to step out on a limb here, that life is still happening, people, and the best of the best are still working. And everyone I've talked to in the music industry is hard at work.
Yep.
They are creating, they're making their own, they're getting to what they need to do. Yes. So, you know, God bless you and God bless all of us to come together and continue on with this. This is important because I think a lot of people are feeling broken out there, and it's up to you guys to lift us up and bring us back.
Yeah, we're not broken. We're working.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'm just finishing a record myself. Right. Might be broke, but doesn't matter.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Well, on that note, I'm getting the dog howling in the background because that's the way it is today, and that's where we are.
There's a reason that broke rhymes with folk.
All those broke folk.
Well, you know, what was Dolly Parton when she began? Wasn't that folk? It kind of morphed into country, didn't it?
Yeah, I guess so.
You know, I mean, it's really about songwriting, isn't it? It's about poetry and putting that together and finding the truth behind that in music, I think. And
she's a great writer, that's for sure.
And Chuck has a masterful way of bringing out the best sound. I know, I've had that experience and I appreciate it so much. And Chuck is an inspiration. Have you all sipped the chip yet?
I have not.
I have not. I didn't even know anything about it.
Okay.
I'll bring you a bottle when I get there, buddy. You and I are going to celebrate.
Hello, Chip.
Well, y'all need to try that Sip the Chip, and it is a nice bottle. Can I just say I'm a bottle aficionado. I just want you to know, number 2 pencils and bottles, and this bottle is fantastic. It is. And so, Chuck, I just want to say thank you for all of your hard work in gathering people and keeping them working and doing the things and being the light that's guiding them, because, you know, there is great talent and it needs to continue. And so, Jim, I'd like to say thank you for taking your time out and contributing to this. And we look forward to and congratulate your hopeful win this year.
Mahalo nui loa. Thanks so much for having us on.
Yeah, absolutely. My heart is in Maui. I have to tell you, it really is. It's one of my favorite places. I took my mother there to listen to the whales when they were giving birth in that bay, and it changed her life. So aloha, cool. I get it. And Grant, beautiful inspiration, and thank you so much. Thank you for
having me here today. I appreciate it.
I'm going to tell everybody you need to go out and you need to grab these records. And for those of you that are voting, you have all the information right here. Chuck, I'm going to give you the table one more time to let everybody know where they can find it.
All right, you can find it at www.axonentertainment spelled out.com, and you'll be able to see it there. The record's there, the links that you can hear the whole record there. Of course, it's on Spotify, Amazon, Apple, it's all over YouTube. It's out there, rooted in song, an American music experience. And again, it couldn't have been done without these great fellas right here and all the other participants in the album. My heart for all of them, and thanks for entrusting in me to put it together and make us a fantastic record. It couldn't be fantastic without them. So I'm blessed to be able to do it.
Woohoo! And also, just for those of you out there, you can go check out the Janky album because it is pretty stellar. I have to say that is amazing. That's an experience. And of course, Chad Prather's album. And so you can have a good laugh and maybe check out the new Weird Al album as well. So thank you, gentlemen. Go Jolly. I'm happy that you're making someone else's life brighter. That's what this show is all about. And we'll keep you in our hearts and minds and in our votes. And if you'll please keep us abreast of what you're doing, come back and visit us anytime. And you're a valuable contribution to our world. And I mean that. So thank you for making our lives brighter.
Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy.
Appreciate it.
Go Jolly,
Love
guys.
you. Go Jolly.
Good luck.
Go Jolly.
Congratulations on your nomination. Woohoo! All
Thanks,
right.
everybody.